Wait, I have something to tell you. Stop hitting yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fulton Street Beats. If you are new here, please hit that like button, share, and subscribe if you want to stay up to date on cool new guitars and, yes, even some taboo Chibson guitars. Now, a quick disclaimer, so everybody's aware out there, Chibson guitars are not illegal to own. No, contrary to popular belief, they are not illegal to own. And the Department of Justice has made that very, very clear. Yes, for your own individual private use, you are able to use it. Now, this is according to the Department of Justice. I am not an attorney, but I would think that they would know what they're talking about. Now, if you plan on getting any of these and reselling them for profit, you've engaged in commerce with them, and that's a whole different world. So just keep that in mind. However, for your own personal use, you are safe. And what I'm going to do is present to you today some information, a little more information about these guitars, these taboo guitars that everybody seems to have a fit with. You know what? Actually, I take that back. Most people don't have a fit about them. Actually, 95% of people don't have a fit about these guitars. They're actually very intrigued by them. But that minute 5% tend to have some cognitive dissonance about them, insisting that they're very poor quality. Why this may have been true in the past, it has gotten a lot better. And this is my case in point for this guitar right here. A lot of you guys wanted to see this guitar. How is this guitar held up? Well, this was one of my first ones. And this, well, we're going to show it to you today because we got a G-string on here that actually broke the other day while playing because, well, I use this guitar a lot. And I restrung it up with a non-matching wrong gauge G-string. So we're going to restring the whole guitar today. But anyhow, I'll take this opportunity to show you this guitar. I picked this guitar up on eBay. That's right, eBay. eBay is a very good place to find these guitars for your own personal use to purchase. That's right. eBay, AliExpress, any place like that. So do your own homework, do your own research, and research your own legalities for these guitars. And remember that a lot of what you read out there has to do with the world of business commerce and not for individual sales. So keep that in mind when you're doing your research. A lot of people don't know how to differentiate the two. You as a private citizen make private sales. Businesses that sell multiple of these guitars, the onus is on them, not you. So keep that in mind. So anyhow, beautiful, beautiful guitar. One-piece body. That's right, one-piece body. Not even the Gibson SG standard. The real one is a one-piece body. This is a one-piece body. It is mahogany. It is beautiful. I've done a lot to this guitar. So the state of this guitar is obviously, when we say a copy of an SG or a Gibson SG, it wasn't even really a loose copy. These are not. There's multiple differences. And a lot of people say, hey, why can't they get it right? Well, they can get it right. They just don't get it right on purpose because then they would be coming closer and closer to that counterfeit mark, which they don't want to do. So to keep it so it doesn't qualify legally as a counterfeit, there's criteria they have to make. First criteria is they got to make sure it's not exact. So they change things. They change things up so it's easy for you to tell that it's not authentic, and that's why they do that. The number two big thing that they have to do to meet the counterfeit criteria is the intent to defraud. Now, simply selling a guitar does not mean you intend to defraud somebody. So if they're selling it as authentic and real, they have intended to defraud, and they have met half of that counterfeit requirement, but yet not the other half. So counterfeit's a very, very strong word that a lot of people throw around kind of willy-nilly. They throw it out there, not really understanding exactly what it means. If you don't have the intent to defraud, it's not a counterfeit. And if you don't have the exact aspect, which means you can't differentiate between an authentic one and the one that you have, that's the other half. And if you can't put those two together, you have not met the criteria. And that's a tough piece of criteria to meet. Some of the best luthiers in the world don't even meet that criteria. So think about that. Let that sink in for a minute, and don't let that cognitive dissonance set in. Now, are they fakes? Yes, but a fake does not necessarily mean it's a counterfeit. And a counterfeit does not. Well, all counterfeits would be a fake. but fakes don't necessarily mean counterfeit. So I just want to get you guys outside of that box thinking so you understand what's going on. So when you watch videos or you see people that have these and you're scratching your head going, wow, how can they have them? Why can they have them? I don't understand. Well, that's why they have them. Now, there's a whole different part of the counterfeit aspect also. And we're going to just get into this a little bit today before we show you this guitar. And it's to clear the air, to help you understand a little bit about these guitars. And how maybe when things don't match your thought process, when you say, hey, why are there so many of these out there? How can people buy these? Well, let me explain to you. I'm not here to make you angry or upset. I'm here to explain to you how and why they can buy them. They can buy them, number one, because they're not counterfeit guitars. Now, there is copyright infringements that can happen on these guitars. Number one is logos. Logos are a big thing, but a logo, again, indistinguishable. You can have a counterfeit logo. That's a whole different realm, okay? And, well, the Chinese are smart, and they figure out ways around things because they know that people like to have logos on their guitar. And to be honest, a lot of these guitars, people buy for wall art. They buy not to fool anybody, but for wall art. And, you know, some of them, they really can play really well, and they can be very well made. And I'm starting to realize where a lot of these guitars are actually coming from. It's starting to piece the evidence together, and hopefully I can bring you guys a video on that soon, of where a lot of these guitars are actually being produced and what company is responsible for them. And yeah, I think I might have stumbled onto something. Now, when we do that video, I want you to keep in mind that I'm going to be speaking from piecing just clues together. So it doesn't make it a fact, but I'm going to give you the best information I can. Stay tuned for that video. But anyhow, back to the logos. Logos, here's a logo. Gibson logo on a guitar. And it's a good logo. First to admit it. Now, to me, does it have to have a Gibson logo on it? No, it doesn't. When I order a guitar, I don't request a logo. I don't deny a logo. I just get what they give me. I get what I get, and I don't throw a fit. Because as a consumer, it's not up to me to police these people. Now, usually when these guitars come now, they have a decal over the guitar. Well, once you affix something to a guitar, it's not meant to be taken off. And that was their loophole, because when they come through customs or what have you, if customs remove a sticker that is on the guitar showing the manufacturer of the guitar, in other words, the Gibson's not showing, it's covered, whatever brand they got on there is covered, and there's a decal on there, and it's covering that. Once somebody peels that off to reveal something else that's underneath, that's not supposed to be revealed, they have altered that guitar, and there's some legality issues, and that's how they get away with that. So I didn't make those rules. That's just how it is. You know, it's like digging into the earth and finding something you didn't know was there, but it's there. Maybe you shouldn't have dug into the earth. So if you don't like logos on a guitar, keep the logo on that they shipped you. It's their logo, such as LS Custom Shop. Keep it on. Or cover it with something else. Things like that. But let's talk about quality of this guitar, because you really wanted to know about how this thing was holding up. And I'm telling you, this thing is taking a pounding. It's got a lot of scratches on it. I am not going to lie, but it's still an outstanding looking guitar, right? Done a lot to this guitar, such as an authentic Gibson pickguard. That is right. It's got an authentic Gibson pickguard on it. But boy, before you guys rush out and buy one to put on your guitar, just know it's not going to fit. That's right. It's not going to fit. You're going to have to do some extensive modification to make it fit. I mean extensive. So with this particular guitar, what I had to do was that, because this has this isn't an open cavity guitar like you'd see on a lot of Chibsons. This is a 2 pickup system, and it's routed out for 2 individual pickups. What I had to do was take the route for this neck pickup and route it out more to mount the pickup in the pickguard and actually sit the pickguard where it's supposed to go, because it sits down farther. That's right. While this pickup was fine, this one wasn't, so it had a different pickup spacing. And everything was a lot different. Another thing to do this is you're going to have to relocate your switch. That's right. There's the hole is actually under this pick guard, the original one, and it's way over here. It's not even close to an original. So what I had to do was re-drill, fill in the hole underneath, re-drill for this switch, drop it down lower, and put it in more of a correct, as you can see, location. Now you'll see that this guitar is way more correct than probably a lot of them that you've seen, with the exception of nibbed frets. This does not have nibbed frets, which you can get on guitars now because, well, they're just nibbed frets. They're covered fret binding on the ends. It's not a big deal. I did change the bridge to a Wilkinson ABR style bridge. It has a same tailpiece that came on it. The pickups I've upgraded, and I'm sorry that I upgraded these pickups. These pickups are Epiphone ProBuckers with push-pull pots. And while they do work good and they do sound good, they're not a very high output pickup, and they don't have the bite that the old pickups had. So I wish I would have kept the old pickups in it. And as a matter of fact, they're up here on a build that I'm currently doing because they sound so good. I decided to use them. So you'll be seeing that guitar soon too also. So I did change the knobs to your witch hats. They're witch hat knobs. They look fantastic. They feel good. Very retro, very old school, very 70s looking. And the pick guard itself came off of a brand spanking new SG standard that I ordered that cost about $2,000, and it was horrible out of the box. And I'm going to put a link to that video here. And I didn't mean to do a comparison of the two guitars at the time, but it ended up happening because the quality control on the Gibson was so bad and this one was so outstanding. The finish on this guitar is impeccable, and it looks even better in real life. I have upgraded the tuners. We have some, if I remember right, I think they're Guyker lockers on it, if I remember correctly. I order a lot of tuners. I'm a locking tuner fan because I like tuning stability. So, yes, these are Guyker locking tuners in nickel. I'll try to leave links in the description if I remember to these if they're still available. These are nickel. They're an outstanding tuner. There was no modifications required. I did put the authentic Gibson SG truss rod cover on it. I have added the Gibson or the Angus Young Schoolboy Devil up top. I've done that myself, and I got that through a seller on eBay, and very cool. Covered up that nice little diamond perfectly, and yeah, fantastic. It's got the proper headstock. The headstock itself is shaped identical, and I mean identical to the SG standard. But what they do on these guitars, because remember we can't have things quite so identical as I stated earlier, is they move down the tuners. That's right, the tuners are actually moved down farther on this. So when you get an optical illusion and people say the headstock's not correct, well, the headstock's perfect, but the holes for the tuners have been changed on these. So little differences. This is a thicker body. This is definitely a thicker body, and they do way more than an actual Gibson. It's still very, very nice. Will not fit properly in a an SG case properly. It's a little bit different on the body. So you see how things are adding up. And I did a lot to this guitar to make it more true. But there's differences. Now the horns they got from the front, really nice, right? The horns look fantastic. They look fantastic. The lightning bolt inlays are amazing. The inlays on this guitar are so much better than what came on my SG standard. So much better. And then I put a little groove in the center of these inlays. A light groove to make it look like a two-piece inlay, like the Angus Young Gibson would be. Now, I'm going to give you a little story on this guitar real quick, too, before we get a little farther into this. The original SG that Gibson or that Angus Young used with the lightning bolt inlays, the original one was made by a luthier in the UK. That's right. It was a special made guitar for Angus. Lightning bolt inlays were custom, and it had hotter pickups in it. As a matter of fact, it was a dual rail humbucker system that was in it. And he used that on the Monsters of Rock tour, which was really, really cool. And if you look on the internet, you'll see this guitar, and Angus is on, on somebody's shoulders, and he's got that guitar up, and he's got this dual rail system, and you're going, whoa, that's not a Gibson pickup. What's up with that? Right? Well, because that's why. So later on, Gibson approached, kind of like they did with Slash's luthier that built the famous, well, as close to a counterfeit as I've ever seen, Les Paul. They approached him and said, hey, Slash, we would like to counterfeit your counterfeit to save the company, which in turn did. In much the same fashion, they approached the luthier and said, hey, we would love to use the lightning bolt inlays on a signature Gibson guitar, Angus Young Gibson guitar, and that's what happened. That's where the lightning bolt inlays originally came from, not from Gibson. So keep that in mind. So, you know, there's a lot of, I don't know, hypocrites when it comes to things. We can steal from this one or use this one and this one, but you're not, and you are, as an individual citizen, you are allowed to do what you want when it comes to this stuff. Just don't try to scam anybody, rip anybody off, or make things, you know, too authentic. Now, this is just my player. I play it. I love it. I love this guitar. One of my favorite guitars, one of my favorite 61, about a 61 neck. They did it right. They got the feel down for sure. Amazing frets on it. They're not stainless steel, I don't believe, but they're very, very nicely done. It's got a beautiful ebony fretboard, and like I said, beautiful inlays on this guitar. Some of the nicest inlays that I have seen on a guitar in a long time. So let's detune this guitar real quick. And I'm going to pull out these strings, and sometimes when I play a guitar, I forget what I've done to the guitar. So who knows what we'll find when we get in here. But I'm going to pull these out because I'm going to string this up. And I have this set up with 9s right now. So I'm going to go back. I want to go back to 10s on this guitar because I've gotten very used to playing 10s. So we're going to be using Ernie Ball, a custom gauge. And I believe they're 10s. Let's check out, make sure that I grab the right pack here. Yes, we got 10 to 46. So we're using a 10, 13, 17, 26, 36, and a 46, okay? So put that over there. Now what's nice about these locking tuners is, bam, look at this, guys. And look at the nuts. The nuts cut so nicely. So locking tuners, you simply unscrew, pull them out, unscrew. This is why I recommend locking tuners. And the stability is insane. It's one of the best upgrades you can do to any guitar, in my opinion. In my humble opinion, I think so. Now the nuts cut super well on this thing, and here is our bridge, and a very nice bridge. We pull our strings out, get rid of these things. And what I like to do with my strings here, roll them up like this, tuck them in like this, so they don't go all over the place on me, because they like to do that. And my wife has a fit that she steps on something or anything like that. So this is the Wilkinson bridge that I'm talking about. Nice. It's a nice bridge. It's a nice bridge. I'm trying not to touch anything. Oh, and another thing that I had to do. The pick guard here itself, it's got little oblonged holes. Let me show you here. The holes are a bit oblonged. Right here. You can see that. I had to do that to make the posts fit properly. That's right. So, I mean, extensive modification. And if you look under this guitar, you'll see, well, I'm not pulling the pick guard off today, guys. Sorry. But if you look under the pick guard, you'll see that I have had to actually fill in a hole. So this guitar has been modded, and it ain't the prettiest underneath. But, man, does it work well. So we're going to get in here, and I'm going to show you something that I do to guitars to keep them clean when I do. Oh, by the way, a lot of you don't know, this is a lacquer finish. This guitar was tested with the acetone. This is a lacquered finish guitar, and you probably can tell that right from the shine, the way it looks. You can see the lacquer, how it went right into the wood grain and waves, and it's a beautiful lacquered finish. And what's really nice about this is the way it's already aging with the lacquer. Now, this wasn't ordered with lacquer. There's nothing custom about this guitar. It's just the way this one come. Most people don't get lacquer; they get urethane. This is my third lacquered Chibson. It's the third lacquered one. 2 were not ordered that way. 1 was, and one that I have was ordered with lacquer, and it is not lacquer. And the simple way to tell that is remove your pickup in your cavity where the kind of the lacquer or the urethane would run down into your pickup, and just take a Q-tip with some acetone on it. If that is lacquer, it will melt instantly. Another way of telling lacquer, but it takes time. If you have a lacquer finish, a lot of people don't know this, but it takes time. It has to be aged lacquer to do this. As if you put lacquer under a black light, it'll literally look like it's got green snot marks all over it, and that's a sign of lacquer. It's the way the lacquer, it's the way it gases off. It leaves these snot marks in it over time, and lacquer is constantly gassing off. Constantly, doesn't stop. That's why you get these variations in color over the years, especially, as you know, on your cream guitars or your white guitars, that turn extremely yellow, different shades of yellow according to how it was originally painted. So it'll do that with clear lacquer too. Clear lacquer will affect paint underneath. It's weird the way it works. But this is a beautiful, beautiful finish. And there's actually one little imperfection up by the horn here, almost a divot where the lacquer didn't settle quite perfectly. That's about it though. Guitar is very, very nice. The neck should be perfectly straight, hopefully, right now with those strings off. And yes, it is. It is a perfectly straight neck. The strings, or the frets, are beautiful. I'm just going to take a quick run. I'm not going to worry. I'm not worrying about my fretboard because I'm going to clean it. Take a quick wipe with my steel wool just to clean them up real quick. They're not really dirty, but I do play this guitar constantly. So there's bound to be something on here. They're very shiny as it is, so it really doesn't take a lot. So yeah, that's all that took. And what I like to do is I get these Zeiss, outstanding company. I got a lot of rifle scopes, and I use these on my rifle scopes. They're Zeiss, they're for glasses, what have you. And what I like to do is open these up, and it doesn't stay, but it's a very safe way to remove fingerprints and grime without leaving any streaks to your guitar when it's apart. And use it on your pickups, your pick guard, everything, and it just makes everything shine. So while you got it apart, it's fantastic. Got to work kind of quick because they'll dry out on you. They're not meant to leave any residue. Here we are. I'm getting between the knobs, and you can do the whole guitar in this, and it's good for touch-ups here and there, but it's really nice to use when you got your guitar part. You can even use it on your fretboard. It isn't going to dry anything out because it dries so quickly. It doesn't dry the fretboard out. And this fretboard's always conditioned so well, so I'm really not concerned about it. Still very conditioned. Okay, so there we go. Rid of all those fingerprints and grime. It's that quick. Beautiful, right? So that's a little trick. I do that. I tend to do that. Usually I do that with a headstock too. Let me grab the headstock up here while I got the strings off. Now, normally I would take a little graphite and I would put it in the nut to make sure the nut doesn't bind with any strings, but I'm not having an issue in this. I still see there's some graphite in there from my last service on this guitar. So I'm going to keep it just like that. So we're cleaned up. We are ready to rock and roll. Now, on the Angus Young edition with the Gibson with the lightning bolts, you'll find that the intonation screws on it, believe it or not, are facing downward like a, you know what, we're going to do that. I'm going to turn it the other day. We're going to face it down. I'll have to re-intonate later on. But I'm going to face them down just simply because it's easier to intonate for number one. And number two, that is how his is. And another thing that's actually wrong on this guitar, quite wrong actually, is his bridge posts. You ready for this, boys and girls? His bridge posts are slotted. That is right. It is a Gibson guitar with slotted bridge posts. And that was due to a request by Angus Young that they were slotted because he sweats on his guitars so much they get corrosion in the wheels and in the threads that it was impossible for his luthier to turn them for quick adjustments between shows when things needed setting up and redone. So they put a slotted one on there so he could break it free with a screwdriver. Interesting side note. Don't know if you knew that or not. Okay, so yeah, it's not all Gibsons have the bridge pins, and I call these pins even though they're not really technically pins. That's an acoustic guitar term. I know. I call them pins because, well, they are like pins and they stick through there. We can call them studs if you want to, I guess. But so we'll call them the studs. How's that? But yeah, that's it. So we're going to start out with a 46. We'll get our bridge. Make sure the bridge is a little bit cleaned up here. Nothing wrong with it. Always inspect your parts. Make sure you ain't got any cracks or breaks in anything. Should be okay though. And I'm just going to start with a low E, and I'm just going to sit it on quick like this, run it over and up. And this is fantastic because we just run it through. Guys, you have to love locking tuners. Watch. If you haven't used them, this is how you use them. Boom, okay? You just pull it. Tree bridge is on. Pull it through. Pull it tight. Okay? Tight as you can. Pull it through. Boom. Tight as you can. Lock down your lock in the back. And congratulations, your guitar, that's it. So that's it. So what I do is I bend these up to get them out of the way. Just like that. And we're going to move on to this one. These things are amazing. And what that does, why is tuning stability so much greater with locking tuners? A lot of people tell you it's not. They say, oh, it's a myth. It's not a myth. And it's been tested over and over. And the reason, man, I can test it over and over. The reason is because the more winds that you have on your tuning peg, and if you're going to leave rotten comments in the comment section below and try to say that that's not true, I'm going to delete you from the channel because you're giving false information. It's not a matter of opinion. This is a matter of fact. So the more winds you have on your tuning peg, the less tuning stability you have. Well, why? Well, because when you tune up, it acts as a coiled spring. Okay? So when you detune your guitar, say you're taking your E string and you're dropping it from E to drop D. Well, you've just detuned and now you've left uneven pressure in the wind. Does that make sense? There's uneven pressure in the wind. That's why you're like, oh, it was tuned to D. A few seconds later, you got to retune it to D. That is why. Because of the winds. The more winds you have, the more spring you have, the more coil effect you have, the more uneven loosening and tensioning that you have. You might tighten it one way, and then it gets looser, right? Or you might tighten it and it might bind, and then you back it off and it doesn't release. That's why. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. So with locking tuners, you eliminated all that. You eliminated all of the winds. You run it through. You lock it down. Boom. And now you just have that one little tension. You're not even going to have a full wind on it. So your tuning stability is so much better and instantly precise. A lot of people complain, oh, my tuners suck. When in fact, it wasn't even the tuners. It was the way that they wound it or having too many winds on it. Gibson's notorious for that. Their tuning stability sucks, but you'd be surprised if they just had locking tuners. Right? So, lockers. I use them on everything. It makes everything so much better, and they're very inexpensive. You don't have to listen to the gear gods or the guitar gods or anybody else and buy the most expensive thing. Now, yes, Hipshot, all of them makes really good stuff. I love Hipshot locking tuners. I use them on a lot of guitars, but I'm going to be honest with you, Guyker locking tuners are just as good. They are. It is a name thing. That is it. They are just as good. I mean, just as good. And they don't cost a lot. I got a set right here that's going on the Zach Wild. Now, these are in like a bronze finish. Guyker lockers, open gear lockers. I want to say these things were like $32. And I have a set of the actual Hipshots on, what guitar did I put that on? On the James Hetfield Iron Cross, the SP. I put those on that. They're open gear Hipshots. And a lot more money. A lot more money. To the tune of, let's see, 34, $70 more. That's a lot of money. And these work just as well. I use them on everything. So it's a name thing. And the only reason the other one got the Hipshots is because, well, I was putting the best of everything, so-called the best of everything on that guitar. But is it really better? No. It's not better. So this would be done already if I wasn't rambling. So G-string, boom, like I said, 10s, custom gauge 10s on this. So easy, guys, so easy. And you're not whining, you're not stressing, you're not bitching, you're not pissing, you're not moaning, you're not kicking the cat or the dog, nothing like that. You're just running it through, and it's the easiest thing in the world. And I'm trying to get manufacturers, every time they send me a guitar, Manufacturers send me a guitar, even the budget guitars, and they'll say, hey, what would you do? We get that a lot. What would you do to change the guitar? My number one, those two requests, but my number one request on any guitar is, for the love of God, for what it costs you to produce them, put locking tuners on it. People will come back to your brand if you simply do that, because just for ease, and nobody has a reason to bitch about tuning stability. You're going to have tuning stability with locking tuners, because it's only from point A to point B. There's your tuning stability. There we are. Thought I had it straight and I didn't. I was trying to put it in a non-existent hole. Anyhow, there we go. Last one. So that's it. You these manufacturers, if you're listening, you change to locking tuners. I'm telling you what, you will cut back on your return rate something fierce. Because the number one reason people return guitars is because they don't stay in tune. So that's a no-brainer, right? So there we are. We are strung up. And what I'm going to do now, guys, boys and girls, I am going to take this guitar and I'm going to tune this to something weird. I'm going to do something different with this guitar. I never do. This is always usually in standard tuning. You know what I'm going to try to do? I'm going to try to play you guys something really heavy on this guitar, because we know this does AC/DC cleans. We've already done it. It sounds just like an Angus Young guitar. It has the tones it's supposed to have. It just doesn't have the output that it originally had. Once again, the pickups were awesome. I'm going to use those. These pickups are still good. It does have push-pull, which I never use because I don't find the need. We'll tune this up. Make sure my action is set up properly. And by the way, my action on this was outstanding. So after I'll use my string stretcher. We'll stretch these in, and I'll see where I don't have equal tension across the board on here. I'm gonna put some tension on these strings real quick. Hold on. Just a bit of tension, just to get an idea where my action's gonna set, because it does change under string tension. So, but I'm just putting low tension on it because I'm gonna tune it low, extremely low. We're gonna do some old '90s metal with it, because that's my thing now. I like 90s metal. There, we got low. There we go. So let's check action. I know it was actually really low. So, God, the action on this guitar is so low. It's a millimeter. I set this guitar up perfectly. Yeah, this is still at a millimeter. It's a millimeter action. I mean, you can't get no lower with this. And I might have to bump it up a little bit, being they just went from 9s to 10s. I might have to bump it up just a touch, like 1.25 probably. But wow, right? I mean, what a cool guitar. You want to make sure when you put your bridge on that you're not ever hitting your bridge with your strings, by the way. Nobody ever says this. You want to make sure that the bridge is coming off properly, and you don't have too much of an angle down where it's actually contacting the bridge itself. Nobody ever tells you that. Just a quick tidbit that I always check for. So no, this is just above everything, so we're definitely good on each string. So we're perfect on the tailpiece setting. Awesome, guys. Let's get over and play this thing, and leave in the comment section, what do you think about these guitars and the quality that's coming out now, regardless of your moral compass or what you think might be right or wrong, or your, I can't get into those debates with you because we're just going to disagree. We're going to agree to disagree. But just keep comments civil. What do you think, guys? I mean, as far as the guitar itself, let's just take the name off the headstock. What do you think about it? Fantastic. I think it's a fantastic guitar. It plays really good and well worth upgrading. I mean, I'm into this guitar total for less than $400 total. And it plays like a guitar that is well in the thousands. And I mean well in the thousands. That's how good this guitar is. So keep that in mind. All right, guys, let's get over and play this thing. Stay right there. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to do this a little bit differently. Bear with me. First things first, I got this thing tuned up. It's man. It's an amazing fucking guitar. Pardon my French. I really like this guitar. Sorry, Mom. I really like this guitar. This is, I mean, and these strings, these Ernie balls, the gauge is just even better. It sounds more bitey now. So the pickups do sound a little bit better than the strings that were on it. Anyhow, two things I'm going to tell you. You're going to hear this guitar because I'm going to lay this down in a track. I'm going to remove a guitar track from an old 90s, early 90s, 94 guitar track that I actually just did and put it on my Facebook channel. And that's Downset, and it's a song called Empower. It's very heavy. It is badass. I think I got this thing in tune. Didn't take long to tune it because it's just great. So the tuning that we're going to use for this, and bear with me because you're going to have to click on something, is we got. So the tuning in this is all going to be in sharps. So we got C sharp, where your low E would normally be. C sharp, so easy to get this thing in tune. G sharp, C sharp, F sharp. Go. And hopefully it stays in tune because the strings those still need stretching. I haven't used my stretcher on A sharp, and D sharp. So that's where we're going to be. And this song's called Empower that we're going to be doing, and it's very heavy. It is cool. It's heavy. I'm going to mix this in my DAW. You guys are going to dig it, but you're going to have to click on the video that's going to pop up here at the end of this right in a second, or go to the link below in the description box if you really want to see this guitar really shine. Now, keep in mind, I've already done this track on my Zakk Wylde, which we're going to do another video on this guitar too. So let me grab that real quick for you. My Zakk Wylde eBay replica. This thing is sick, okay? These two guitars that you see in my hand right now, I gotta say, are my favorites out of all the Chibson style guitars, even though this one would be, your Wylde Audio. Very amazing guitar. These are not active pickups in here. I'd never change them in a million years because they simply scream and they have that Zakk Wylde tone. I haven't did anything to this guitar, nothing, but I am going to this is the one I'm going to upgrade the tuners on, and not that these tuners don't hold because they do work well, but I'm going to go to locking tuners, and I think the locking tuners and that aged brass look are going to look really good on this guitar with this finish, so stay tuned for that one. Well, anyhow, the song you're about to hear, I know I'm rambling, I just did on this song. I put it on my Facebook page. I'll try to put it to my Facebook, it's not a business page, but it's a Fulton Street Beats page. I'll try to put it up there quick. I don't know if they'll block it due to copyright, so I don't know what regions will be able to see it. Same with this video that I'm about to put on that you're going to click on to hear this thing in action. It probably is going to get blocked in a lot of countries, even if they allow me to post it. I don't know, but I'm going to try for you guys. So if it's there, click on it. You might get it. You might not. You might be in a region that you don't hear it. But I'm going to show you how well this guitar just goes into a mix and how good it sounds for less than $400 total into this guitar with the price of the guitar and everything. And I don't care what name's on the headstock. For me, it's about playing them. And that's what this is. And honestly, this is I'm a big Angus fan. So this is my tribute. This is what brings back my childhood memories when I was just a young lad and I saw AC/DC for the first time in Canada. For those about to rock, we salute. I'm aging myself, aren't I? For those about to rock, we salute you tour. Seeing those big cannons go off on this big, massive stage, the loudest concert I've ever been in my life. And man, I'm Angus Young fan. So that's what this guitar means to me. As when we get the signature guitars like this, we're fans and nothing more. We don't mean anything nefarious by it. So click on that link, guys. I love you. Peace out, man. Hit that like button, share, subscribe. Click on that link if you want to hear it. Those videos normally don't get a lot of views because nobody clicks on the links to hear them play. Listen, if you came this far, click on that link and listen to the thing. I put my money where my mouth is. It's going to sound good, guys. And I'm just an amateur mixer in my DAW, but it sounds so good. It pretty much does all the work for me. So I'm going to remove the original guitars from the track using BandLab Ripper. Going to rip it right out, and then you're going to hear this guitar, and I'm going to do a dub over. It'll be this guitar twice, basically, is what you're going to hear. Gives it a more full stereo effect sound, but it's this guitar. So hit the like button. It's right there. Please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Rock and roll. Makes the world do that twirly thing.